Thousands of people descended upon the Garden of Remembrance on Parnell Square in Dublin to take part in a protest against the visit of President Donald Trump to Ireland. It was President Trump's first visit to Ireland since winning the election in 2016. Many political parties and campaign groups were part of the demonstration, including the Stop Trump Ireland coalition, who believe that the US president's policies do not reflect the values of Irish people. Among those who I spoke to was Stan Seenberg, who travelled from New York to Ireland to join the protest. Now, this is interesting because you have some anti-Trump merchandise here, right? And so there's lots of people out here who don't like Trump, but you're making money off that, right?
Yes.
So what motivates you to want to start this business?
Well, because I was living in New York, and I say that we know Trump the best. That's why we hate him the most. And but in New York, your vote doesn't really count in the presidential election because you know it's going to the state is going to go for Trump. I mean for Hillary. So your vote almost doesn't really count because of the Electoral College. I don't know how much you know about that. Anyway, so I decided I wanted to have an impact, so I decided to go to swing states. This is before the election, and go to Hillary rallies and sell merchandise to support Hillary. So that's how it started. I was doing T-shirts at the time. I expected to go out of business on election night, but then when Trump won, I went back out that night outside the Hillary victory headquarters party, and I was selling my stuff. People still wanted it, so I was literally the first job that Trump created.
Now tell us now, honestly, deep down,
I hate him.
Okay, well we understand that, but deep down, like, do you want Trump to win next year? Because you think about it, if he doesn't win, then you're essentially out of business, right?
Well, I joke that if he died tomorrow, I would be conflicted, but it's really a joke because I wake up every day and it's just like all the people here. It's sickening and it's disgusting, and I have Trump supporters who pass me by all the time, and they go, "I love Trump. You know how much money I'm making from my IR." But you have to look past your own personal, if you happen to be making money because of something he did. There's so many other things that he's doing that are destroying the world and inciting racism and inciting violence. You can't, and ignoring climate change or actively reacting against people who are trying to fight climate change. So you have to look beyond your own narrow self-interest. So when those people say to me, I make a lot of money, I just feel like, well, that's the only thing that matters to you? You have like no other, So so deep down, if I would go back to my old life, but this has been, certainly an experience. It will. I hope to go out of business next year.
Yeah. One more thing I want to ask you. Next year is the election, and there's many Democrats running, hoping to get that nomination. Is there one Democrat you look at that you think is the best guy or gal to go up against Trump next year that will have the best shot at taking him out of office?
I really don't make predictions because, like everybody else back home, I was completely wrong about everything last year. Nobody thought Trump was going to win. People thought that Hillary had a better chance than Bernie of winning. I thought that too. So we were just wrong. So now when there seems to be a lot of support for Biden because they think that he could be the best person to beat Trump, it's possible, but I don't think anybody knows anything. So I don't really make predictions. I was just wrong. Everybody was wrong. I was wrong. So I gave up making predictions.
Tell us why you felt it was important to come out here and be a part of these anti-Trump protests.
Well, for a couple of reasons. One, I live here, but I'm originally from the States, and I campaigned against Trump during the election. I think he was a disgrace. I'm a storyteller and a poet, and I wrote a protest poem called Little Polly Pussy, which was used in the campaign stateside. And I think on a much bigger level, though, now that he's in office, I don't think that he should be welcomed here in Ireland. Ireland is moving towards a liberal progressive society, and Trump is the antithesis of Ireland at the moment. He is anti-woman, he is anti-LGBTQ, he is a climate denier, he's an active environmental destroyer. As a small island nation, climate change should be, I mean, regardless of what anyone else thinks, climate change should be the topic that unites all of us. And I think sometimes when asked that question, I just think, where do I begin and where do I stop? The list of reasons to join this is nearly endless. But I think it's important as an American living here to say that not in my name. Trump does not represent Irish America. And I would really like to drive that point home, because all week long, I have seen media report after media report, outlets, reporters, pundits, politicians speaking as though Irish America put him in. Now, I'm quite sure with 80+ million, some did. But the overall majority of people that I know not only did not vote for him, but campaigned against him and continue to campaign against his aggressive policies. So as an American living here, importantly, I want to say not in my name. Ireland is my home, and climate change is important to me, and he will destroy this tiny island with his environmental destruction agenda. And I'd also like to say that he does not, him and the people who are around him, like Pence and Bannon, they don't represent me or my Irish American community, and I'm very fed up with hearing that as some sort of an excuse for welcoming him. I'd also like to point out that I've heard an awful lot of pandering regarding tourists. We want the tourist money. I'd like to say to people here, it's important to know that Trump lost the popular vote by the largest majority ever in a U.S. presidential election. He won that presidential election on a technicality through the Electoral College. So I don't know who they're pandering to when the majority of American people who voted did not vote for him. So I would maybe, if anything else, it's to say not in my name. It's to say, listen to what actual Americans or Irish Americans are saying. I don't know why people here are so invested in pandering, why they won't just stand up. And also there's a terrible amount of misconception about Irish America and about America itself. Everybody I know back home, because this is my home now, everyone I know back home is in bits. They are scared. They're scared for their future. They're scared for their kids' future and their grandkids' future. So if anything, I was so happy to see so many Irish people here saying no, but also the solidarity. And that's why I came out.
And the critics will say, like, at the end of the day, this country should embrace this relationship they have with the US, because it is like one of our closest allies. And they'll say that despite the man in office, we have to play nice. We have to be willing to have that open dialogue with the American president. Do you think that's a fair argument?
It is a fair argument. However, I think you also have to be intelligent about it. It is a fair argument, and maybe with past presidents that maybe we just didn't agree with, that would have been fine. But I think part of that argument also is a respect for the office. And it's important to understand that Trump does not respect the office himself. He has monetized the office. He has not divested his business interests, which is something he has to do as president. And yet 2 years in, he still has not done that. And he has made the office a bit of a mockery. So I think to that extent, no. I do understand about the relationship, but I think the thing is, the relationship is not tied into one individual person. It is okay to stand up to him and say, no, we're not going to pander to you. And that is not going to ruin the relationship. That relationship is forged over hundreds of years, and ties upon ties upon ties. It's like an intricate tapestry. It's not just going to be dissolved by standing up to him. And I'd also like to point out too that a lot of that relationship is outside of the office of the president. That relationship exists in chambers of commerce. That relationship exists in artist exchange and tourism. So it's a fair argument, but it's kind of an empty one, because he got such a small amount of people voted for him. I don't think that standing up to him would actually endanger that relationship. So it is fair, but I think it's maybe misunderstood or not fully thought out.
And finally, I want to ask you, you're an American, so you're very familiar with what's going on in America with the Democrats. They're heating up their race for the 2020, and they're looking to get the nomination to go up against Trump. And there's so many running. Is there one guy or one gal you look at and think that is the person that needs to go up against Trump next year that has the best shot at beating him?
Oh, that's a hard question. There's an awful lot of people in the race. I guess if I had to answer the question and pick just one, I would say Elizabeth Warren. But I'm sorry to say that I'm not seeing anybody at the moment that is a really clear front runner for me right now. But I do quite like Elizabeth Warren. I think she has a fair shot. So if I had to pick one, I would go with her.